going on now, General McChrystal is the NATO commander there. And so what you need to know is how much NATO is really contributing. Some of the countries are not contributing as much as others. And what is the subject of debate is that they have different mandates, even though it's an alliance. So some countries will not shoot unless they're shot at. Some will not go into particular areas. And I think one of the reasons that we were actually asked to do the strategic concept was to sort out these issues particularly. And NATO, from having started at 11 and 16 and 19, now is at 28. When I went back there last month, the table is huge, and by the time everybody speaks, and so it's a different organization, and the decision-making mechanism is complicated, and that is exactly what we're going to be looking at in the next month, and whether to enlarge it further, and what are the borders of Europe. So,
in the room.
Hi. First of all, as a young woman going into international politics, thank you for breaking so many glass ceilings. And I've really studied Rwanda as an undergrad, and I understand the hindsight is 2020. What would you have done differently with Rwanda, and also what would you suggest to see for Darfur? Do you think that current OFAC sanctions are working to stop the genocide in Darfur? Do you think they're good?
First of all, I have to tell you, I have a granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter, who just turned 7, and she said, so what's the big deal about Grandma Maddie being Secretary of State? Only girls are Secretary of State. I have studied the Rwanda issue more than I can tell you, and I just want to take a couple of minutes on it because it is an important question. One of the things that I teach my students is that it is very important to go back and look at how decisions are made. No question about it. And I this morning was grading papers where I was asked my students to assess a variety of decisions in the 20th century. What is very hard, however, is to put yourself into the position of the decision maker at the time, because the information that you have at the time is not the same as the information that comes out later. And also what the situation was at the time. So in both those cases, and not to make excuses, this is just to, I was at the UN. We had operations there were 17 peacekeeping operations out there. The U.S. participated in many of them either with the military, but mostly by providing money. But we were in Bosnia, and we were in Somalia, or had just pulled out of Somalia because we had lost our troops, the Delta Force with the Black Hawk Down, horrible tragedy. And then we had sent a ship to go towards Haiti, the Harlan County. It was turned around. So there were a number of things that indicated that American peacekeepers and that whole operation were not as easy as it looked. Then the part that was that's really hard to grasp at this point is I went over what was in our intelligence material when I was writing my memoirs. Rwanda was barely mentioned. There were so many different things going on, and that it was just one of many kinds of bad things that were going on. So we did not have the right information. And so that is the real situation. On the other hand, I was up at the UN, and my instructions were not to have any increase in the forces that went to Rwanda. It's a long story about the UN force had been attacked and all that. And I listened to the debate by the others, and I thought there is something really wrong here. And we had the problem was that Rwanda was on the Security Council. The Hutu representative was on the Security Council. So what happened was that it was volcanic genocide. The airplane of the president of Rwanda had been shot down, and all of a sudden there was all this killing. I asked for different instructions. I finally got them, but at the time I didn't have them. I wish we had done something. Now, the only thing I can tell you is because it was volcanic genocide, I don't think we would have gotten anybody there on time, but all of us would sleep better if we had, in fact, tried to do something. President Clinton has said that. I have said it. But it, it was wrong for us not to even try. But the ironic part is that just as there was the 10th anniversary of the Rwanda genocide, we were in the middle of the worst part of Darfur. And there were movies about Hotel Rwanda, and there were many more public movements to save Darfur. It kind of died down at this point. But there was an awful lot going on, and we didn't do anything. And so, after all the criticism that we justifiably had to deal with, there's not enough that's been done about Darfur. The problem is that you have the issue that's out there for the UN now, which is the responsibility to protect, where if something terrible is happening to people, you need to go, which is fighting the doctrine of sovereignty. And the president of Darfur of Sudan does not want to let the people in. And it's somewhat less now. You don't hear about the killings all the time. We should now be looking at Congo. More people are dying in Congo, and we need to learn some of the lessons. Long answer, I'm sorry.
All right, one last question. In blue tape.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing this beautiful day with us this afternoon and brought my family with me. Which is your favorite pin, and which pin could you wear almost every other day of the year, and which pin made the most reaction among the diplomats on the table?
Okay. Well, my favorite pin is actually one that I only wear one time a year, which is the Valentine's heart that my daughter made for me. And it's a ceramic heart, and people say, well, how old's your daughter? And she's been 25, 30, 35, 40. And so she says, Mom, you've got to tell him I made it when I was 5. I think one of the most meaningful pins is the one I end the book with, and since this is not a mystery story, I'm not spoiling it for you. What happened was I had gone to New Orleans a number of times, but the last trip was in 2006, and I had gone to the D-Day Museum. And then after the museum, there was this dinner, and this young man came up to me, and he said, my father is sitting over there. He is a veteran who earned 2 Purple Hearts. And he and my mother were married for a long time, and he gave her, and he had a box, this pin for their 50th wedding anniversary, and she died as a result of Katrina. And we know that she would want you to have this pin. And I opened the box, and it's 2 amethysts, and I thought, I can't accept this. And he said, no, she really wanted you to have it. You must accept it. So that is the pin that kind of is the most emotional. And the other part is most of the pins are replaceable. Katie's heart and the Katrina pin are not replaceable. So they are... So which one caused the most consternation, actually, was I totally disagreed with what President Putin was doing in Chechnya vis-a-vis the people there who wanted some sense of not being terrorized and various things. And Putin denied that anything was going on there. So then when I went to Russia with President Clinton for the summit, I wore my 3 monkeys, the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil monkeys. And so Putin, who actually noticed that I had pins, said, we always look at Secretary Albright's pins, so why are you wearing that? And I said, because of your policy in Chechnya, and he really got mad at me. So I'm going to end up with a little racy story about how my pins actually saved me, or saved the diplomatic situation. What happened was I invented the art of diplomatic kissing. Henry Kissinger didn't go into that a lot. The Latin, some kiss on the right cheek and some on the left cheek, and I never could remember, and so we had both noses, and the French kiss on both cheeks, and the Dutch kiss 3 times, and then there's Arafat, just the thought, right? So, anyway, I arrived in South Korea. We had a nice big embrace and good meetings, and then I left, and the South Korean foreign minister had dinner with some journalists. I just love it when Secretary Albright comes. We're about the same age, and I'm just this tired old man, and she is full of vim and vigor, and besides, when I embraced her, she has very firm breasts. And they were calling for his resignation and that kinds of things. So they called me up and they said, well, what do you think about that? And I thought a while, and I said, well, I've got to have something to put those pins on. So, thank you all very much.